let's take some of the information that we got from the hearing with the testimony that we received from some of the expert witnesses and put it with some of the information that we got fairly soon after Bryan Kohberger's arrest. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Now, at the hearing on Friday, there was an expert witness that was allowed to testify that we almost didn't get the chance to hear the story from. Gabriela Vargas came in very last minute. Her declaration as an expert witness was filed on the 17th, and we had the hearing on the 18th. And the state tried to argue that she shouldn't be allowed to testify, but the defense said, well, she's here and she traveled to get here, and there was things beyond our control that caused what we ended up filing for her to be submitted at a later time than what we originally wanted to, and they didn't get into details. But the judge in the end allowed her to give her expert testimony, and he cited a case in which it wasn't allowed, and there was an appeal that ended up getting approved because expert testimony that could have proven a case otherwise wasn't allowed when it should have been allowed. And so everything had to be redone, and then that person had to end up coming in and testifying, and it changed basically like the entire route of the case. At least that's the interpretation of the story that I was getting whenever I was listening to the way that Judge was explaining his reasoning for allowing Miss Vargas to actually give her testimony, even though it was so last minute and the state was trying to object. And it was a good decision because she had a lot of really good information. I very much appreciated the way that she came out very much, like, very brave, honestly, because she outed a very well-known trick that the police use to obtain information for genetic testing and matchings, illegally, deceptively, nefariously, in ways you should not be doing things. Okay? So I was doing some research on it this morning, and I found this article. It was posted on August 18th at 11:10 in the morning, which would have been actually before her testimony, given the hour difference. Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and read through this article because it's literally exactly about the loophole that Vargas was telling everyone about very publicly in court that the police used to illegally obtain matches from these Ancestry sites. And then we're going to go to an article that I pulled up from Fox News. And then I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I want you guys to answer what you guys think in the comments at the end. Okay, this is from The Intercept, and it's titled, Police Are Getting DNA Data from People Who Think They Opted Out. Forensic genetic geologists skirted GEDMatch privacy rules by searching users who explicitly opted out of sharing DNA with law enforcement. And again, this was posted on the 18th, just a few hours before Vargas testified, because this is showing 11:10 a.m. So the timing of this article is actually really strange. I'm just gonna say that. We're gonna go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so that you guys can see the text I'm reading. Now, the beginning of this is just about like the creation of the genetics tool. It talks about CeCe Moore and her coming out and announcing the tool at a conference. What we really want to get to is the information about how this information has been illegally being obtained by law enforcement. Now, I'm going to have a link for this article in the description box, but this is the only portion here that I want to focus on. Okay. The loophole, which a source demonstrated for The Intercept, allows genealogists working with police to manipulate search fields within a DNA comparison tool to trick the system into showing opted-out profiles. In records of communications reviewed by The Intercept, Moore and two other forensic genetic genealogists discussed the loophole and how to trigger it. In a separate communication, one of the genealogists described hiding the fact that her organization had made an identification using an opted-out profile. So this is a well-known situation that people are using to illegally obtain information from people who have made their American given right choice to go in and opt out of sharing their information. There is a loophole in the programming, just like there is a glitch in the matrix. There's always a glitch in every matrix. You can literally count on it. There is going to be some loophole, some red tape that can be cut, some wraparound. There's always going to be something. And the cops are using it. And these geneticists that are working on cases for cops are using it, and they are hiding it. Okay. Now, this is why I feel like this is important. We heard pretty early on that someone was told by Bryan Kohberger that he submitted his DNA for genetic testing. Now, I haven't seen the results. I'm not making a profile on any of those damn websites. If you have a profile on the website that he ran his on and you're wanting to find matches, you can go in and you can put in the information and you can see that public information yourself as a person. But if you are a police officer and you are going in there to find matches and Bryan Kohberger's profile is opted out of LE sharing and you don't get to see it, herein lies where I'm about to be asking you guys the question. Now, we're just going to skim through this. We're going to skim through this just real fast. Bryan Kohberger submitted his DNA to genetic testing company report. Bryan Kohberger told a fellow graduate student that he submitted his DNA to a genetic testing company to explore his ancestry. But an expert told Fox News Digital that it's unlikely investigators used that information to crack the case. What if the defense or someone working in the case reached out to Vargas because they knew that she would have the cojones to come out and admit this in a courtroom because they know that this directly links to the case? What if Bryan really did do this ancestry test? And what if he opted out? And what if the cops went in and did their cop thing, but they weren't able to do it? They weren't able to find it because he opted out. So what if they either use this, loophole in GEDMatch, because we don't know how far Bryan went with it. We just know he got his ancestry testing done. Okay. We don't know if he ever did anything with GEDMatch. That's something that you have to do yourself. There's not a crossover from Ancestry portal that you use over to GEDMatch. You literally take your results from whatever portal or program or company that you use, and then you upload that to GEDMatch yourself. So we don't know. Okay. So the loophole situation, unless they use that to find matches to match to their suspect profile, I don't know if that loophole is going to be the actual, villain in this case. But there's a very long history, apparently, at this point, of police officers knowing that they're very much restricted in what they're able to see. And not just police officers, obviously several other different entities can be restricted because they work for the police or in some sort of authoritative figure, and so they can't just upload it as a consumer. They have to upload it as a figure of authority. But they know that it's very restricted. So what if all of this is coming out now because it's like, this is the reason why you don't want to give us the information, because you know damn well that you didn't get it legally, that you either used some loophole that we don't know about, because again, we don't know how far Bryan Kohberger did do anything with his genetic testing. We don't know if he uploaded it anywhere else. We have no clue. But what if that is the reason why they don't want to just give it over? Because the FBI did this shady crap and just made it like some civilian was uploading information in order to be able to get what they needed to push the case out the door. And that's why they don't want to give it over, because they know they can't show that hand, because that will definitely be fruit of the poisonous tree, and this case will be dropped. I don't know. I'm just trying to take all of the new whirlwind of information that we were just told, and I'm trying to put it together with pieces that we've already been told, because eventually something has to start fitting together. This puzzle has to start coming together at some point. Insane. But I want to know if you guys feel the same way that I'm feeling, or am I reading too much into it? And I could be, because I know that the defense's job is to make it complicated. Make it to where it's not cut and dry, where you have all these questions, where you have all this reasonable doubt, where you have all these things to think about. I know that. I know that. But there's already been so many questions that they're refusing to answer that we don't see other agencies doing in cases of the same magnitude. And I will keep going back to Lisk. That PCA was airtight. Every little bit of footage they had no problem showing. Every burner phone, every little thing that they have, everything that they have found, they're not really trying to hide much, because they know they got their man. So they have no issue putting it out there because they know that it's concrete. We don't see this here. We don't see this here whatsoever. And what we are seeing are things that don't make sense or mean a lot. They're going to have to come out with more if they're going to really think that this case is going to be a DP case, because at this point, I really just don't see how a jury, with this being DP, could find him guilty. I really don't. Trace or touch on a sheath, that's something he could have touched 6 to 8 weeks prior to that incident, or shook the hand of somebody who then touched the sheath, and it's just been sitting there the entire time until the incident and where it got found. And then again, the sheath isn't the weapon. The sheath didn't do those injuries. And a sheathed weapon is a strange choice. But yeah, tell me, am I seeing a possibility of the reasoning for why all of the workup is not being handed over or shown or known to be in existence? Or is this just a possibility that might be a little bit too far reaching? I don't know, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. See y'all.